My beloved child, listen closely, because this moment is not random, and this message did not find you by accident. February 2 arrives with significance. Archangel Michael reveals why this day carries meaning for your path and what shifts when you listen. Open this now while the timing is right. There are windows in time that open quietly, without noise, without warning, and only those who are spiritually attentive recognize when heaven leans closer. This is one of those windows, and if your heart is beating a little faster right now, it is because your spirit already knows what your mind has not yet fully understood. This is not just another date on the calendar. This day carries a weight, a turning point energy, a divine checkpoint placed on your path. Archangel Michael steps forward in this hour not with fear, not with force, but with clarity and protection. He says, "You have been standing at a crossroads longer than you realize." And today, February 2, marks the moment when indecision can no longer remain hidden. Something shifts when you listen. Something unlocks when you respond. Hear this clearly. There has been a quiet battle around your focus. Distractions, delays, and emotional noise were not accidents. They were attempts to keep you from recognizing this precise timing. But heaven has overruled the interference. Archangel Michael reveals that this day carries a signal, one that activates discernment. You begin to see what was once blurred. You begin to sense what was once confusing. And most importantly, you begin to separate what is aligned from what has been draining you. This is why the instruction is urgent. Open this now while the timing is right. Delayed obedience weakens momentum. And momentum is exactly what is being released today. Archangel Michael speaks of alignment, not effort. He says, "Stop pushing doors that were never meant to open." February 2 marks the closing of certain cycles that you kept revisiting out of habit, not calling. The shift comes when you listen, not when you strive harder, but when you finally hear what has been repeating in your spirit. There is also something else being revealed. This day highlights your authority. You have underestimated the weight of your words, your prayers, your decisions. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that you are not meant to walk timidly. He carries the energy of courage and boundary setting. On this day, you are being called to stop explaining yourself to people who were never assigned to understand your journey. When you listen, confidence replaces hesitation. When you listen, clarity replaces confusion. Pay attention to what surfaces today. Memories, thoughts, sudden realizations. These are not distractions. They are signals. February 2 acts like a mirror. It shows you where you have been loyal to situations that no longer serve your future. Archangel Michael reveals that once you see this, you cannot unsee it. That is why timing matters. Ignoring this moment would only delay what is already decided in the spiritual realm. This message also carries comfort. You may have felt protected lately without knowing why. Situations that should have harmed you somehow didn't. Conversations that could have gone wrong were softened. Delays that frustrated you actually saved you. Archangel Michael confirms, "I have been guarding the unseen angles." This day is not about fear, it is about reassurance. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are precisely where intervention could still redirect the outcome. Something shifts internally today before it ever shows externally. The shift is subtle but powerful. Your tolerance changes. Your patience with misalignment shortens. Your hunger for truth deepens. This is the result of listening. February 2 marks the point where pretending becomes exhausting and authenticity becomes necessary. Archangel Michael says, "Your path requires honesty with yourself first. Do not rush through this day. Do not drown it in noise. There is a reason this message reached you now. Heaven is asking for your attention, not your perfection. When you listen, direction becomes simpler. When you listen, fear loses its voice. And when you listen, the next step reveals itself without struggle. Stay present. What unfolds next builds directly on what has just been revealed. The meaning of this day goes deeper, and what shifts after this moment will surprise you more than you expect. Chosen one, breathe for a moment and stay with me, because what Archangel Michael reveals next is not surface level. It reaches into the patterns of your life that have quietly repeated until now. February 2 does not only mark a spiritual signal, it exposes why certain cycles felt impossible to escape. Archangel Michael speaks with calm authority and says, "This was never about punishment. It was about preparation. You were not delayed because you were unworthy. You were delayed because timing required strength, not speed. There are lessons that only activate when the soul is ready to carry responsibility without fear. And this day highlights exactly that. You may have wondered why opportunities seemed close but never fully landed, why people entered your life with promise but left with confusion, why progress felt one step forward and two steps back. Archangel Michael reveals that February 2 interrupts that pattern. This is the moment when preparation meets permission. Listen carefully. Something you thought you lost was actually being preserved. Heaven shielded it while you were being refined. Archangel Michael says, if it had arrived earlier, it would have crushed you. Today is about capacity. Your spiritual muscles have grown. Your discernment has sharpened. Your tolerance for illusion has weakened, and that is a good thing. Because what arrives next requires clarity, not desperation. This day also brings awareness around your voice. You have stayed quiet in rooms where you should have spoken. You have agreed outwardly while resisting inwardly. Archangel Michael steps forward and declares, silence was your shield for a season, but it cannot be your home. February 2 awakens a boldness that feels unfamiliar but necessary. You will notice yourself responding differently, choosing differently, even thinking differently. That is the shift taking place when you listen. There is also a warning wrapped in protection. Archangel Michael reveals that not everyone can go with you beyond this point. Some connections were season-based, not destiny-linked, and holding on to them now would slow what is being accelerated. This is not about cutting people off harshly. It is about releasing without guilt. With alignment shifts, attachment must loosen. That is how space is created for what is next. Pay attention today to what drains you quickly. That is no longer meant to have prolonged access to your energy. February 2 acts like a filter. It brings emotional honesty. You will feel resistance toward pretending, forcing, or over-explaining. Archangel Michael says, your peace is the confirmation. If something costs you peace, it is not from God, no matter how familiar it feels. Now hear this part clearly, because it matters. When you respond to this message, you are not just receiving, you are participating. This is why it is important to engage. If this resonates, let your action reflect it. Like this message as a sign of agreement. Share it with someone who needs clarity right now. Comment with what stood out to you, because words activate intention. And if you have not yet subscribed, align yourself with this channel, because messages like this do not arrive randomly. They arrive by assignment. Archangel Michael also reveals something about timing and obedience. He says, delayed response creates unnecessary struggle. That does not mean rushing blindly. It means honoring clarity when it comes. You already know the next step. You have just been waiting for confirmation. Consider this your confirmation. February 2 removes the excuse of uncertainty. What you do next determines how smoothly the shift unfolds. There is an invitation here to trust differently. Not blindly, but deeply. You have relied on logic because intuition felt risky. But logic without spiritual insight kept you looping. Archangel Michael says you are safe to trust what you sense now. That is new. That is different. And that is intentional. As this message continues, understand that what is unfolding is layered. Each revelation builds on the last. What you hear next will bring even more clarity, and you will begin to see how everything connects: past confusion, present awareness, and future direction. Hold on, because what is coming next ties all of this together in a way you may not expect, and it will change how you see this entire season of your life. My dear one, allow your heart to settle, because what Archangel Michael unveils now goes deeper than awareness. It touches identity. February 2 was not only a marker of timing, it was a mirror revealing who you are becoming. Archangel Michael speaks gently yet firmly and says, you are stepping out of survival mode and into stewardship. This means you are no longer just trying to get through life. You are being trusted with influence, with responsibility, with spiritual weight. And that transition can feel unsettling before it feels empowering. You may have sensed this shift without having words for it. A restlessness that does not come from lack but from readiness. Old comforts no longer comfort you. Old goals no longer excite you. This is because your inner assignment has expanded. Archangel Michael reveals that February 2 activated a deeper awareness of purpose, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet certainty that says, I cannot go back to who I was. When you listen, you realize that growth has already begun. This part of the journey also brings emotional honesty. You are becoming more aware of where you compromise yourself to keep peace, where you settled to avoid conflict, where you accepted less because you feared losing connection. Archangel Michael says, compromise was never meant to cost you your truth. And now, truth is rising. You are learning that peace built on silence is not peace at all. It is postponement. February 2 disrupted that postponement. There is healing happening beneath the surface. You may notice emotions surfacing unexpectedly: grief for lost time, relief for lessons learned, gratitude for protection you did not recognize before. Archangel Michael confirms that this emotional release is necessary. What you feel now will not weigh you down, he says. It will lighten you. Listening allows emotions to move through instead of getting trapped. This is how freedom begins. This day also recalibrates your sense of worth. You no longer measure yourself by external validation or delayed promises. You are beginning to understand that being chosen does not always look glamorous. It looks lonely before it looks fruitful. Archangel Michael reveals that separation was not rejection. It was insulation. You were being protected from environments that could not sustain the version of you that is emerging now. There is something powerful about this realization. When you listen, shame loses its grip. Regret loosens. Self-blame fades. You begin to see your past not as a series of mistakes, but as a training ground. Every delay sharpened your discernment. Every disappointment strengthened your resilience. February 2 brings this understanding into focus, and with it comes peace. Archangel Michael now speaks of authority again, but in a new way. Authority does not shout, he says. It stands. You are learning to stand without explaining, to choose without apologizing, to walk away without guilt. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. And alignment attracts what striving never could. If you feel a quiet confidence growing, that is the shift. If you feel less reactive, more observant. That is the shift. If you feel ready to protect your energy without hostility, that is the shift. February 2 with a doorway. Listening is what allowed you to cross it. Before this message moves further, receive this activation with intention. Type "I receive the shift" in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Lesson code 444 has just been released over your alignment, clarity, and next steps. And now, hear this invitation that flows directly from this moment. As this message reaches you, understand that it is reaching many others who are still searching for clarity, still standing at their own crossroads. This word is light, and light multiplies when it is released. When you choose to support this mission, through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel, you are sowing into souls. This is seed placed into fertile ground, and heaven watches seeds planted in obedience. The Spirit says, as you pour oil, your own vessel will not run dry. What you release here becomes a river elsewhere. This act is not small, it is prophetic. It is alignment with timing. It is saying yes when heaven is moving. I speak blessing over every hand that gives, every heart that partners, every soul that responds. May doors open where there were walls. May clarity replace confusion. May provision flow without strain. Do not delay what your spirit already feels. Act now, and let your obedience echo beyond what you can see. Beloved one, remain still in your spirit, because what unfolds now is not loud, but it is decisive. After February 2, there is a settling that begins to take place within you, like dust falling after a strong wind. Archangel Michael reveals that this phase is about stabilization. You have crossed the threshold, he says. Now you must learn how to stand on the new ground. Many people misunderstand this part of the journey. They expect immediate external change, but heaven often works inward first so that what comes later can remain. You may notice that your reactions are changing. Situations that once pulled you into emotional turbulence now feel distant. Not because you do not care, but because you finally see clearly. Archangel Michael explains that clarity creates emotional distance without creating coldness. You are learning how to observe without absorbing, how to care without carrying what was never yours. This is maturity of the spirit, and it only comes after listening deeply. There is also a sense of recalibration happening around your expectations. You are no longer chasing outcomes. You are paying attention to alignment. This shift is subtle but powerful. When expectations lead, disappointment follows. But when alignment leads, peace governs. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer meant to force timing. You are meant to recognize it. And recognition requires stillness. This season may feel quieter than the last. That is intentional. Heaven often reduces noise before releasing direction. You are being taught to hear instruction without chaos, to sense guidance without pressure, to trust direction without needing constant reassurance. February 2 opened the door, but now comes the walking. And walking requires balance, not speed. There may also be moments where old fears attempt to resurface. Thoughts like, what if this does not work? Or what if I misheard? Archangel Michael addresses this directly. Doubt is not failure, he says. It is a signal that your old patterns are losing authority. When fear questions, it is often because it no longer controls the outcome. Do not wrestle with it. Observe it. It will pass. You are also becoming more selective with your energy. Conversations feel different. Some interactions feel heavy faster than before. This is not impatience. It is discernment sharpening. Archangel Michael reveals that your spirit now recognizes misalignment quicker because you no longer have time to recover from unnecessary drain. Your calling requires stamina, and stamina requires boundaries. There is a strengthening taking place that you may not fully recognize yet. Like muscles built through resistance, your inner resolve is growing through restraint. You are choosing not to react, not to explain, not to chase. And heaven honors restraint more than effort in this season. Archangel Michael says, what you do not engage can no longer entangle you. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. It is becoming kinder, steadier, more assured. Where self-criticism once lived, compassion is taking root. This is not weakness. This is healing. February 2 began a process of restoring how you see yourself. And as that vision heals, your decisions will reflect it. You will choose differently because you value yourself differently. This part of the journey also prepares you for increase. Increase is not only material. It is relational, emotional, spiritual. But increase without structure collapses. That is why this phase feels grounded rather than dramatic. Archangel Michael is helping you build internal structure so that when expansion comes, it does not overwhelm you. Foundation first, he reminds you. Then elevation. There is also an invitation to trust silence. Not every moment needs interpretation. Not every feeling needs analysis. Some things settle simply by being witnessed. Archangel Michael says, peace will explain itself. Allow peace to become your confirmation. If something brings calm clarity rather than anxious excitement, that is alignment speaking. As you continue forward, remember this. You are not behind. You are not catching up. You are arriving prepared. What unfolds next will make sense of what you endured before. The pieces are aligning quietly, intentionally, and with precision. Stay open. Stay grounded. The path ahead is unfolding step by step, and what is coming next will illuminate how all of this connects in ways you could not have seen before. Precious soul, lean into this moment, because what Archangel Michael reveals now is about movement. Quiet, intentional movement that reshapes your future without announcing itself. After stabilization comes direction. Not the kind that rushes you forward, but the kind that gently turns your steps so you no longer walk against the current. Archangel Michael says, you are learning how to move with heaven instead of ahead of it. This distinction changes everything. You may feel an increasing pull toward simplicity. Certain plans no longer feel necessary. Certain explanations feel redundant. This is not laziness or lack of ambition. This is refinement. February 2 awakened discernment, and discernment naturally strips success. You are no longer interested in proving yourself. You are interested in being aligned, and alignment always reduces noise. This part of the journey teaches you to trust small nudges. Not everything will come as a loud instruction. Some guidance arrives as a gentle sense of ease or unease. Archangel Michael explains, direction often whispers because shouting would override your choice. You are being trained to recognize subtle confirmation. That is why your intuition feels sharper now. You are no longer second-guessing every inner signal. You are learning the difference between fear and guidance. There may be moments when progress feels slow again, and old impatience tries to rise. But this slowness is not resistance, it is precision. Heaven is aligning details you cannot yet see. Archangel Michael reminds you that rushing creates detours, but patience shortens the true distance. What you are walking toward requires exact placement. Every step matters. You may also notice a change in how people respond to you. Some may become distant. Others may suddenly seek your presence or advice. This shift is not random. Your energy is changing, and not everyone is comfortable with that. Archangel Michael says, light does not argue with darkness. It simply exposes contrast. Do not personalize reactions that are really about alignment. There is also a deeper trust being formed between you and the unseen. Prayer feels less desperate and more conversational. You are no longer begging for answers. You are listening for direction. This is maturity. February 2 opened a door, but now you are learning how to walk with awareness beyond it. Faith is becoming lived experience rather than hopeful expectation. You may be called to release control in areas where you once micromanaged outcomes. Archangel Michael reveals that control was once a coping mechanism, not a calling. As trust increases, control loosens. And as control loosens, peace expands. This is not loss of power. It is the transfer of weight. You are no longer carrying what was never meant to rest on you. This phase also invites courage in subtle ways. Courage to say no without guilt. Courage to rest without explaining. Courage to follow joy without justification. Archangel Michael says, joy is not distraction when it is aligned. You are allowed to enjoy this season without fearing collapse. Stability has already been established. Pay attention to recurring confirmations. Repeated themes, familiar words, similar messages arriving through different sources. These are not coincidences. They are alignment markers. Heaven repeats what matters until you recognize it. And once you do, resistance fades naturally. You begin to cooperate instead of question. There is also healing happening in your perception of time. Regret over the past is losing its grip. Anxiety about the future is softening. You are learning how to inhabit the present with clarity. Archangel Michael says, the present is where power resides. When you are fully present, fear has less space to operate. As you move forward, remember that this journey is not about becoming someone else. It is about returning to who you were always meant to be, without distortion, without fear, without unnecessary burden. Each step you take now is anchored in awareness, not reaction. And that is why this movement feels different. What unfolds next will build on this quiet momentum. Direction will become clearer. Opportunities will feel less forced. Choices will feel lighter. Stay attentive. Stay grounded. The path is opening not with noise, but with certainty. And the next revelation will show you how this movement connects to what is about to manifest in ways that will confirm you heard correctly all along. My beloved one, stay attentive, because what Archangel Michael reveals now concerns acceleration, but not the kind you expect. This is not hurried movement. This is alignment catching up with intention. After seasons of slow refinement, momentum begins to return. Yet it feels calmer, steadier, and more controlled. Archangel Michael says you are not being pushed forward, you are being carried into position. This distinction matters, because what comes next requires clarity more than effort. You may begin to notice doors opening with less resistance. Conversations flow more naturally. Decisions feel lighter. This is not coincidence. It is the result of internal alignment finally matching external opportunity. February 2 marked the internal shift, and now the outer world is responding. When alignment is correct, things do not need to be forced. They respond. There is also a deeper lesson unfolding about trust. Not trust in outcomes, but trust in process. You are learning that not every step must be understood before it is taken. Archangel Michael explains, understanding follows obedience. That means clarity often arrives after movement, not before. This is where faith becomes active rather than theoretical. You may still encounter moments of hesitation, but they no longer paralyze you. Instead, they invite discernment. You pause, you sense, you choose. That is growth. Fear once stopped you. Now it simply signals that something new is unfolding. Archangel Michael reassures you that discomfort does not mean danger. Sometimes it means expansion. This phase also brings increased sensitivity to truth. You can sense when something is off, even if it looks right on the surface. You no longer need proof to justify your inner knowing. This is spiritual maturity. February 2 awakened this discernment, and now it is becoming instinctive. You trust yourself differently because you are no longer operating from insecurity. There may be moments where you feel called to step into visibility, sharing, speaking, leading, or simply being seen as you truly are. This can feel vulnerable, especially if you were once misunderstood. Archangel Michael stands with you here and says, visibility is no longer a threat because your foundation is secure. You are not exposed, you are supported. At the same time, you are learning restraint. Not every insight needs to be shared. Not every reaction needs expression. Wisdom teaches timing. Archangel Michael reveals that knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is part of the authority being entrusted to you now. Power is no longer loud in your life. It is precise. This is also a moment to recognize how far you have come. You survived seasons that tried to shrink you. You endured confusion without losing your integrity. You waited without becoming bitter. This strength did not go unnoticed. Heaven does not waste endurance. What you built in silence is now carrying you forward. If this message is resonating, engage with it. Let your agreement be visible. Like this message as an act of alignment. Share it with someone who is standing at their own turning point. Comment with what is speaking to you, because your voice matters in this space. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now, not out of habit, but out of connection. This channel exists for moments exactly like this. Before moving forward, hold on. Because what comes next will connect everything you have sensed but could not yet explain. This is where the deeper pattern becomes visible, and you will want to witness how it unfolds. Trust this moment enough to stay present. There is also a reminder here about patience with yourself. Growth does not erase humanity. You will still feel, still question, still pause. That does not negate progress. Archangel Michael says, grace covers learning curves. You are allowed to grow without being flawless. As acceleration continues, you may feel a renewed sense of purpose. Not pressure, but direction. You wake up with more clarity. You end days with more peace. This is not temporary motivation. It is sustainable alignment. February 2 initiated it, but your listening sustains it. Remember, you are not chasing something outside of yourself. You are responding to what has already been activated within. Stay receptive. Stay grounded. The unfolding continues, and what is about to be revealed next will give language to what your spirit has already begun to understand. Beloved child, allow your spirit to remain open, because what Archangel Michael reveals now is about integration. This is the phase where everything you have learned, released, and accepted begins to work together instead of pulling you in different directions. Many people misunderstand this stage. They think growth always feels like forward motion, but integration feels like balance. It feels like your inner world finally agreeing with your outer choices. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer becoming aware, you are becoming consistent. This matters more than you realize. Awareness shows you truth, but consistency allows truth to transform your life. You are beginning to live from what you know instead of revisiting what you already learned. This is why your decisions feel steadier now. You are not reinventing yourself every day. You are inhabiting who you have already become. You may notice that temptations to return to old patterns still appear, but they no longer have the same pull. The emotional charge is weaker. The familiarity feels empty. This is a sign of detachment, not denial. Archangel Michael explains, detachment is freedom without bitterness. You are not angry at the past. You are simply no longer governed by it. There is also a deepening sense of self-respect emerging. You are honoring your limits without shame. You are recognizing when to rest without calling it laziness. You are choosing peace without needing to justify it. This is integration at work. Your values are no longer just beliefs. They are habits. This season also brings clarity around responsibility. You are discerning what is yours to carry and what is not. Archangel Michael reveals that much of your exhaustion in the past came from carrying emotional weight that belonged to others. Now, you are learning how to offer support without self-sacrifice. Compassion no longer requires self-erasure. You may feel less reactive to opinions, judgments, or expectations that once influenced you strongly. This does not mean you are disconnected. It means you are anchored. When you know who you are becoming, outside voices lose their power to redirect you. Archangel Michael says, anchored souls are not easily swayed. There is also a subtle joy returning. Not the loud excitement that depends on circumstances, but a quiet contentment that exists regardless of them. This joy comes from alignment. It comes from no longer fighting yourself. February 2 initiated the shift, but now you are living inside its result. And that creates emotional stability. This phase teaches you patience with unfolding. You no longer need instant confirmation for every choice. You trust that alignment will reveal itself over time. Archangel Michael explains, certainty grows through experience, not urgency. Each aligned decision reinforces your trust in your discernment. Confidence builds naturally. You may also begin to see long-term vision forming. Not rigid plans, but clear direction. You are able to imagine the future without anxiety. That is a sign of healing. Fear once distorted your ability to look ahead. Now, hope feels realistic, not fragile. This is integration of faith and wisdom. There is an invitation here to remain present with yourself, to notice when you are grounded and when you are drifting, to gently return without judgment. Archangel Michael says, correction does not require condemnation. You are allowed to adjust without punishing yourself for learning. This stage also prepares you for deeper trust in relationships. Not blind trust, but discerning connection. You are learning to recognize who respects your boundaries, who honors your growth, and who meets you where you are now. This discernment protects your peace and supports your future. As integration continues, you will notice that life feels less chaotic. Challenges still arise, but they no longer shake your core. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of default. This is strength matured, not forced. Remain attentive to this balance. Do not rush to label it as boredom or stagnation. Stillness after turbulence is healing. Archangel Michael reminds you that calm is not absence of movement. It is alignment in motion. What unfolds next will build on this stability. The clarity you are gaining now will support decisions that shape the next chapter in tangible ways. Stay grounded. Stay receptive. The path continues to unfold with purpose, and the next revelation will show you how this integration becomes preparation for what is soon to be revealed. My chosen one, stay centered, because what Archangel Michael reveals now is about elevation through surrender. This is where many hesitate, because surrender is often misunderstood as weakness. But Archangel Michael speaks clearly and says, surrender is not giving up control. It is giving control to what is higher than fear. You are entering a phase where resistance fades, not because circumstances are perfect, but because trust has matured. You may notice that certain desires are changing shape. What once felt urgent now feels optional. What once felt necessary now feels negotiable. This is not loss of passion, it is purification of motive. February 2 did not just realign your path, it realigned your priorities. You are no longer driven by urgency rooted in fear. You are guided by clarity rooted in truth. This stage can feel strangely quiet. All is too calm compared to what you have known. Archangel Michael explains that this calm is not emptiness, it is readiness. Noise is reduced so instruction can land clearly. You are being positioned to hear guidance without distortion. That is why distractions are falling away naturally. You are not forcing separation. It is happening as a result of alignment. There is also a deeper healing taking place around trust in God's timing. You are beginning to understand that delays were not denials, and silence was not absence. Archangel Michael says, I was closest when you felt most unsure. This realization changes how you interpret the past. Pain begins to make sense. Waiting gains meaning. And peace settles where confusion once lived. You may feel an invitation to release outcomes completely. To stop rehearsing possibilities. To stop preparing for disappointment. This does not mean ignoring wisdom. It means releasing anxiety. Archangel Michael reminds you that anxiety is not preparation. It is anticipation without authority. You are being taught to prepare with faith, not fear. This is also where your inner authority becomes visible to others. People may sense something different about you. A steadiness. A grounded presence. You are no longer trying to convince. You are simply being. That authenticity carries influence. Archangel Michael says, those who walk in truth do not need to announce it. As surrender deepens, joy becomes more accessible. Not because everything is resolved, but because you are no longer resisting what is. Acceptance creates space for gratitude. Gratitude creates space for joy. And joy strengthens faith. This cycle sustains you. There is a sacred exchange happening now. You release control, and clarity increases. You release fear, and peace expands. You release old narratives, and new vision emerges. February 2 set this exchange in motion, and now you are experiencing its effect. Before this message continues further, seal this moment intentionally. Type I trust the divine flow in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 888 is now activated over your surrender, peace, and elevation. And now, let this moment transition naturally into purpose. As this word reaches you, it is also reaching those who are still weary, still searching, still waiting for confirmation that they are not alone. This message is light, and light must travel. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a platform. You are extending a lifeline. You are sowing seed into open ground so others can hear what their spirit has been longing for. The Spirit declares, those who water will themselves be watered. Your giving is not a transaction. It is an act of obedience. It is a prophetic response to timing. I speak blessing over every giver now. May what you release return multiplied in peace, provision, and clarity. May doors open without resistance. May your obedience speak where words cannot. Do not hesitate. Move now, and let your support become part of what God is unfolding in this hour. Beloved soul, remain attentive, because what Archangel Michael reveals now is about confirmation. This is the stage where subtle inner shifts begin to reflect outwardly, not as dramatic signs, but as undeniable alignment. You start to notice that things are falling into place without struggle, not because life has become effortless, but because resistance is no longer leading your decisions. Archangel Michael says, when resistance steps back, truth steps forward. You may recognize this confirmation through unexpected peace in situations that once triggered anxiety. Choices that once felt heavy now feel clear. Conversations that once required rehearsal now flow naturally. This is not coincidence. It is evidence that your inner alignment is stabilizing your outer world. February 2 initiated the shift, and everything since has been guiding you toward this grounded awareness. There is also an increased sense of trust in your own discernment. You no longer feel the need to seek constant reassurance from others. You are comfortable sitting with a decision without immediately questioning it. This does not mean you are inflexible. It means you are centered. Archangel Michael explains, centering is what allows flexibility without losing direction. You may begin to notice that your prayers feel different. Less urgency, more clarity, less asking, more listening. This is growth. Your relationship with the unseen is maturing. You are no longer approaching God only with requests, but with awareness. You are listening for instruction as much as you are speaking desire. This balance creates peace. There is also a subtle shift in how you view challenges. They no longer feel like obstacles sent to stop you. They feel like information, feedback, redirection. Archangel Michael reveals that wisdom transforms problems into guidance. When you stop personalizing resistance, you start understanding its message. And once understood, it loses power. You may also sense a renewed creativity or inspiration. Not frantic energy, but steady insight. Ideas come without pressure. Vision unfolds without panic. This is alignment at work. February 2 unlocked clarity, and now that clarity is expressing itself through thought, action, and intention. This phase invites patience with manifestation. Not everything needs to appear immediately to be real. Some things are forming beneath the surface, strengthening before they are visible. Archangel Michael says, roots grow in silence before branches appear. Trust what is growing even if you cannot yet measure it. You may also feel more comfortable with uncertainty. Not because you lack direction, but because you trust guidance. You understand now that not knowing every step does not mean you are lost. It means you are being led progressively. This trust changes how you experience the future. Fear loses its grip when trust becomes familiar. There is also healing happening in how you relate to others. You are no longer seeking validation through agreement. You are no longer defining yourself by reaction. This emotional independence is not isolation. It is strength. Archangel Michael reminds you that healthy connection begins with self-awareness. Pay attention to moments of gratitude that arise naturally. Not forced positivity, but genuine appreciation. These moments are signals of alignment. Gratitude surfaces when resistance fades, and gratitude strengthens what is already working. This cycle reinforces peace. As confirmation deepens, you may feel called to simplify further, not out of restriction but clarity. You are recognizing what adds value and what drains energy. Archangel Michael says, simplicity protects focus, and focus is essential for what is coming next. This stage is not about rushing forward. It is about stabilizing trust. Let confirmation settle. Let clarity deepen. Let peace become familiar. What unfolds next will build on this foundation, and the decisions ahead will require the calm certainty you are developing now. Stay present. Stay aware. The journey continues with intention, and what is about to be revealed will show you how this confirmation prepares you for the next level of responsibility and blessing unfolding ahead. Beloved one, stay with this moment, because what Archangel Michael reveals now is about responsibility that comes with clarity. When understanding deepens, life begins to ask something in return, not as pressure but as participation. Archangel Michael speaks with calm authority and says, "Clarity is never given without purpose. What you now see, you are meant to steward wisely." You may feel a growing sense of accountability, not to people's expectations, but to your own inner truth. You can no longer pretend you do not know what you know. The awareness awakened since February 2 has changed how you respond to situations. Old excuses feel hollow. Old delays feel unnecessary. This is not condemnation. It is readiness. You are capable now in ways you were not before. This stage invites intentional action. Not right movement, but conscious choice. You are learning that wisdom is applied, not admired. Archangel Michael explains, revelation matures when it is lived. That means alignment must move from understanding into behavior. Small, consistent actions now carry more weight than dramatic gestures ever did before. You may notice that procrastination feels uncomfortable now. Not because you are being forced, but because misalignment is harder to tolerate. This discomfort is a gift. It nudges you back into integrity. When your inner world and outer actions agree, peace follows. When they do not, tension arises, not as punishment, but as correction. There is also a refining happening in how you use your time. You are becoming more selective, less scattered, more intentional. Archangel Michael says, time is sacred currency. Where you invest it reveals what you truly value. And now, your values are clearer than ever. This clarity simplifies decisions that once felt overwhelming. This phase may also bring moments where you are called to encourage others, not by fixing them, but by modeling alignment. Your presence carries reassurance. Your calm speaks louder than advice. Archangel Michael reveals that leadership does not always stand in front. Sometimes it simply stands firm. You are influencing more than you realize. If this message is resonating deeply, engage with it now. Like this message as a sign of agreement with what is unfolding in your life. Share it with someone who needs reassurance that clarity leads somewhere meaningful. Comment with what is speaking to you, because your testimony strengthens others. And if you have not subscribed yet, do so now. This space is meant to support moments of awakening just like this. Hold on, because what comes next connects responsibility with reward in a way that will shift how you view effort and rest. This is where the journey becomes even more meaningful, and you will want to witness how it unfolds. There is also a reminder here about balance. Responsibility does not mean burden. Stewardship does not mean exhaustion. Archangel Michael reminds you that alignment includes rest. You are allowed to pause without guilt. Rest is not retreat, it is restoration. And restoration sustains clarity. You may feel an increased desire to organize your life, emotionally, mentally, even physically. This is a natural response to alignment. Order supports focus. Focus supports growth. Archangel Michael says, what you bring into order becomes easier to maintain. This is not about control, it is about harmony. As responsibility becomes clearer, so does confidence. Not loud confidence, but quiet assurance. You trust your decisions because they are rooted in awareness. You no longer need to convince yourself repeatedly. This confidence is steady, not fragile. This phase also teaches discernment in commitments. You are learning to say yes with intention and no without apology. Archangel Michael reveals that boundaries are acts of respect, both for yourself and for others. When you honor your limits, you create space for genuine contribution. As you continue forward, remember that clarity is a gift meant to be used. Do not fear making mistakes. Fear remaining stagnant. Growth requires movement, and movement requires trust. You have been prepared for this. Stay present. Stay aligned. What unfolds next will reveal how responsibility and blessing intersect, and how what you steward now multiplies in ways that will confirm this entire journey was purposeful from the beginning. Beloved child, slow your breath and remain open, because what Archangel Michael reveals now is about completion approaching, not an ending, but a ceiling. This is the phase where understanding settles into wisdom, and wisdom begins to shape destiny. Archangel Michael speaks with assurance and says, "What was learned in fragments is now becoming whole." You are no longer collecting lessons. You are integrating truth into the way you live, choose, and trust. There is a noticeable calm surrounding this stage, not because there are no questions left, but because questions no longer disturb your peace. You have learned how to hold uncertainty without letting it control you. This is a sign of spiritual maturity. February 2 opened your awareness, and everything since has been preparing you to stand steady without constant reassurance. You may notice that the urgency you once felt has softened, not because passion has faded, but because desperation has healed. You are no longer trying to outrun fear or prove worth. Archangel Michael reveals, peace arrives when you stop chasing what was never meant to flee. What is meant for you is no longer hiding. It is aligning. This stage brings a deep sense of inner agreement. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions are beginning to cooperate instead of compete. Inner conflict lessens. Decision-making feels cleaner. Even when choices are difficult, they no longer feel chaotic. This is alignment becoming embodied. There may be moments of reflection where you look back and realize how protected you truly were. Situations that could have derailed you did not. Relationships that could have damaged you were removed. Delays that frustrated you preserved you. Archangel Michael says, protection often feels like restriction until you see what it prevented. Gratitude begins to replace confusion when you recognize this. You may also feel a stronger connection to stillness. Silence no longer feels empty, it feels informative. You are comfortable being alone with your thoughts because your thoughts are no longer attacking you. This is healing. When the inner world becomes safe, solitude becomes restorative. This phase also brings clarity around identity. You are no longer defining yourself by roles you outgrew or labels others placed on you. You are discovering who you are beneath expectation and survival. Archangel Michael reveals that identity rooted in truth cannot be shaken by circumstance. That is why you feel steadier now, even when external conditions fluctuate. There is also a growing sense of readiness, not for something dramatic, but for something meaningful. You are prepared to receive without fear, to manage without overwhelm, to grow without losing yourself. This readiness did not come quickly. It was built patiently through listening, releasing, and aligning. You may notice that your prayers have shifted again. They are no longer focused on rescue, but on stewardship. You are asking how to walk wisely with what you have been given. This shift matters. Archangel Michael says, those who steward well are trusted with more. This is not about reward. It is about capacity. This stage also brings acceptance of timing. You are no longer trying to control when things happen. You trust that unfolding as intelligence beyond your perspective. This trust reduces strain. Waiting no longer feels like stagnation. It feels like positioning. There may be moments where old memories surface, but they no longer carry the same emotional charge. You can observe them without reliving them. This is healing completing its work. Archangel Michael reveals that when memories lose their power, freedom has taken root. You are also learning to celebrate progress without minimizing it. You acknowledge growth without dismissing struggle. You honor how far you have come without ignoring how much remains. This balanced awareness keeps you grounded. As completion approaches, understand this clearly. Nothing was wasted. Not the waiting, not the confusion, not the silence. Everything contributed to who you are now. Archangel Michael assures you that alignment always makes sense in hindsight. Stay present in this sealing season. Do not rush ahead mentally. Let what has formed settle fully. The next revelation will bring closure to this journey and clarity about what has been activated moving forward. Remain open. Remain grounded. What is about to unfold next will confirm that this path was guided with intention from the very beginning. My beloved child, receive this final unveiling with reverence, because what Archangel Michael reveals now is the sealing of alignment and the activation of what had been prepared. This is not an ending. It is a commissioning. Everything you have walked through since February 2 has been leading to this moment of inner agreement, where hesitation dissolves and clarity stands firm. Archangel Michael declares, what you are ready for is now ready for you. There is a quiet authority settling over you now. Not the kind that seeks recognition, but the kind that moves without permission. You are no longer waiting to feel ready. You are aware that readiness has already been formed through experience, surrender, and discernment. The journey refined you. It stripped excess. It strengthened truth. And now, it positions you. You may sense a deeper trust in yourself than ever before. This is not self-reliance born of pride. It is confidence rooted in alignment. You know when to move. You know when to pause. You know when something is not for you without needing justification. Archangel Michael says, discernment is your inheritance, and you are finally using it without fear. This final stage also brings peace with what did not happen. Regret no longer defines your story. Missed opportunities no longer haunt your vision. You understand now that what passed was not lost. It was redirected. February 2 was the turning point, but this is the moment of understanding. Everything unfolded exactly as it needed to in order to protect what you were becoming. There is also a sense of spiritual maturity that cannot be rushed or replicated. You are no longer moved by urgency rooted in comparison. You are no longer measuring your life against timelines that were never yours. Archangel Michael affirms, your pace was chosen intentionally. This acceptance frees you to move forward without pressure. You may notice that fear tries one last time to question your confidence. This is normal. Fear always attempts to speak before it loses its voice completely. But now, you recognize it for what it is, an echo, not an authority. You do not argue with it. You move anyway. It is power. This moment seals a new way of living. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of default. You trust instead of control. Alignment is no longer something you seek. It is something you inhabit. And from this place, your decisions carry weight and clarity. Archangel Michael now speaks of blessing, not as reward, but as consequence. When alignment is established, flow follows. When truth leads, peace governs. You are stepping into a season where effort feels lighter because resistance is gone. This does not mean there will be no challenges. It means challenges will no longer define you. Take a moment and acknowledge this shift intentionally. Type "I walk in alignment" in the comments if your spirit confirms this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your clarity, obedience, and next season. And now, let this final word transition into purpose beyond you. This message did not end with you. It flowed through you. There are countless souls still standing where you once stood, searching for confirmation, clarity, and peace. This is where your obedience becomes impact. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal donation link in the description, you are not giving money. You are releasing light. The Spirit declares, those who sow into truth will reap understanding. I hear God saying, I placed this invitation in your hands because I trust your discernment. Your giving becomes a prophetic response, a seed released in perfect timing. As you act, I speak blessing over you now. May provision meet you without strain. May peace guard your decisions. May clarity increase where questions once lived. This is not a suggestion. This is a call. Move in obedience. Support the spreading of this word. And watch how alignment continues to unfold in ways that confirm you listened at exactly the right time.